Well, this was one of the first, big conferences that we've done virtually that we've typically done in person. And I'm seeing that we had 175 participants today, which I thought was really, really good. And it was good to see that we've adjusted so much already. And just kind of reflecting on a couple points, one, I think it was a Rosie Allen Herring that spoke to a better normal, which came up in our breakout session. And it's actually a really good way of putting it. I think for a lot of people early on with the pandemic, it was like, okay, when do we get back to normal? When do we get back to normal? And now we're pretty much to a point where whatever that was before, some semblance of it may reappear, but it's going to be different. And so a lot of our focus, I think, as a collective group of business owners as well as business support organizations is around how do we make sure that we're providing the next best level of service and support to the constituents that we serve, and not necessarily relying on what we used to do, but looking at what we need to do with the tools, resources, and the environment that we have right now. So I thought that was great. And it was a point really worth highlighting again. And maybe stolen along the way, by the way, Rosie Allen. So just so you know, the breakout
All
sessions.
ours.
Okay, the breakout sessions, of course, were great. We had a breakout session on women-owned businesses. The growth of women-owned businesses has been so significant that it's really, really important to make sure that we're continuing to see positive results happening in our women-owned business community. And so it's great to see. It really was a power-packed panel. Unfortunately, we couldn't be at all of these sessions at the same time as is normally the case. You can only be in one breakout at a time. But that was a fantastic panel there. I was very glad to know that we also put in place a young entrepreneurs panel. The youth is the forward-leaning part of where we're all going. Let's face it, we've got a lot of businesses that are owned by baby boomers. And at different points in time, a lot of those are going to say, it's been a great run. I'm ready to pass the torch on to someone else. Hopefully we'll do that in an organized way and we'll get continuity of business and people will be able to grow into those businesses as new owners. But I know that there's a lot that comes out when people who are not restricted with the thoughts of yesteryear and are able to craft a pattern, craft a direction for moving forward with a new business venture, maybe serving some of the same type of clients, but doing it differently, revisiting tried business models, and maybe making adjustments, identifying the gaps that exist. And I think our youth entrepreneurs are perhaps the most adept at being able to do that because they are forward thinking. They use different skills and techniques than some of their baby boomer era counterparts may have done. So I think that's a really important piece as well. I know in our discussion, we talked about one of the things, the values that came out of this whole environment was the workplace flexibility. There's a lot of employers that are expecting everybody to get back into the office. And that's okay. We understand there's value of being in the office. But I've spoken to so many business owners who say they like this new environment. They're able to spend much more time in a day being active on real business parts of their work as opposed to spending time parking in a garage or on the beltway or and driving around trying to get through traffic. They're actually a lot more productive. And it's created better workplace opportunities so that their employees can, sometimes maybe they get up real early and work and then tend to children or whatever might be going on and then bounce back in at later points in the day. But at the key moments of getting the work project done, it's all happening, and it's happening in a way that surprisingly has been that much higher level in productivity. So I think that's been one of the key learnings. We heard a lot about online growth as a great way to grow your business. And it's been working very, very well. In one of our panel discussions, business talked about growing 2- and 3-fold in terms of the level of activity, just because they had a great online presence. And maybe before they was thinking so much more about the front door, physical door, but now that's not necessarily the case. And we also heard about people saying it's from a networking perspective, this new environment has created the ability to be a little bit more intentional around who you reach out to and how you reach out to them, because you don't necessarily have just that casual physical conference environment where maybe you just might happen to be filling your cup of coffee at the same time as somebody else. But now you think about it a little bit more strategically. The last piece I just want to hone in on goes back to the title, resiliency. If you're a business owner, somewhere along the way, you're going to get a shot to the gut. And by a shot to the gut, it usually takes your wind out for a minute, sometimes a night, sometimes it's the whole week or whole month. Sometimes those shots to the gut are enough to put you on a knee, sometimes two knees, sometimes you're almost flat on your face. Business ownership is about being resilient, being able to take those shots, being able to get back up, get on your feet, gather yourself, not let your staff know that you're almost ready to tap out, you were done for the day, but being able to come back up strong and say, I'm making an adjustment. I'm not going to get hit with that same shot again. I'm going to pivot. I'm going to do some things different. And I think it's really great that this conference gave us a platform to be able to expand on that particular notion of resiliency. And again, I want to thank all the folks who've been involved in the planning to make this happen. I appreciate being a part of it once again this year.
Thank you, Director Doss, for your partnership and for your public service. We all appreciate that greatly. Our next speaker is someone you may remember from prior PowerUp DC, Christy Whitfield. She is the director of the DC Department, Small and Local Business Development. She is an executive, an entrepreneur, and an urban planner with more than 20 years of experience implementing change. She's also a former DC HealthLink small business owner customer. Director Whitfield.
Good morning, or I guess good afternoon, everyone. Hello, everyone, and thank you for continuing to convene this conference. You know, I think that, you know, continuity is important in these times, and coming together in new and innovative ways or ways that continue to feel familiar continues to be important. And so I want to thank and commend DC HealthLink and Mila in particular for a great morning. We started this morning with a speaker, I think Rosie Allen Hearing, started with trauma, the notion of trauma-informed care. And that spoke to me, because I will say, as the director of the Department of Small and Local Business Development, if you think about this year, you know, I think many of our small businesses, and we are here on the HealthLink, we're talking about DC HealthLink, you know, many small businesses may have found themselves feeling like they had a cold, you know, at different parts during the past year. And then the world caught COVID-19. And I think that this global pandemic has laid bare, you know, many things, many weaknesses and in some of our business models. And I think that, you know, we spend a lot of time thinking about that, about our cash flow and about our distribution chains and those things. But, you know, you talk about resilience and opportunity. I think the thing that we also see, and we talked about this a little bit in the breakout that I was lucky enough to share some time with Director Doss. One thing that I know, and it's nice to sort of leave you with some parting thoughts, is that our small business community and our small business leaders, you know, have the ingenuity and the resilience to be the problem solvers that we need in this time. You know, we know that small business people are at our core problem solvers, and that we have already shown some of the best and most interesting innovation in these few months. And it has been both heartening and inspirational to see the ways that businesses have reached, across their industries, across the street, across, across neighborhoods to help each other. And then across maybe mental barriers around their ways that they were thinking about their own way of operating to change, to think about how will we move forward. We know that we cannot go backwards. We know that, 2019 is gone and 2021 is going to be upon us. But we also know that we are, going to be better and stronger for it. I was honored to serve this mayor before COVID, and I was particularly proud when she painted Black Lives Matter, on the street to send a message to the world that we are a strong city that will not stand for particular things, and that our DC values are strong, that we know who we are and that we will move forward with particular values, and that we are going to kind of march in a progressive way in a particular direction. And I think that the small business community is the same, and that we are not going to go backwards. We are going to continue to go forward. DSLBD was really honored and excited to, have a robust retail grant program that we were able to pivot and make sure that we moved out faster than ever before. We were excited to support DEMPED in the $30 million grant funds. And then we were excited during phase 1 to support the distribution of, I think it was over, millions and millions of masks, to help businesses get started, to get started and, recontemplating what we're doing. If we knew the answers, we would have published all the answers and published the roadmap, and we would have already solved this. So we don't have the answers, but what we know is that together we will figure it all out. And so between the brain trust of the people who are doing the work, which is the small business community, and the partners that we have among us, I see Commissioner Woods it happens to be in there, so hello. Between our government partners that are with us, our federal partners like the SBA, we know that we have strong, dedicated people that are determined to make sure that this mayor's vision is implemented, and that we know that that we will continue to march forward, and that we will be stronger on the other side. So if you need help, reach out. Sometimes business owners, and I know that I was particularly guilty of this, of when someone asked me how I was, I would smile and I would say, I'm great. Oh, things are great, whether they were great or not great. And so one benefit of this pandemic is that we don't have to smile and say that we're great. In trauma-informed care, like we all have this shared trauma. We can be honest about the fact that we are suffering in a global pandemic, but then we also need to be honest about some problems that we have, about access to capital, about credit, about the value of the leases that we have signed. And we need to be talking about what the solutions are going to be in the next phases, and know that this government, or at least this director of Department of Small and Local Business Development, is already thinking and working about that. Do we have all the answers? No, but are we up nights really trying to figure out what this is? Yes. And do we want to work with you on this? Yes. So don't think you have to be perfect. And if you think that you're fooling us when you pretend to be perfect, you're not. So come to us, call us, reach out to us. We want to work and be in partnership with you as we figure out these things together. And when we get to the other side, we will be stronger and we will be healthier. So in the meantime, wash your hands, wear your masks, and be safe. And call us if you need some help. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that, Director Whitfield. And thank you to Commissioner Woods and all of our moderators and panelists. And thank you for DC HealthLink team and the Brain Trust for making this another successful Power Up DC. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.